but that's okay that you checked out. We're going to talk about that too. But I know everyone's really, really excited about this because that means we get to plan events. That means we get to do a line party. That means we're going to create a whole community event that we're going to do. It's going to be really fun. Really, really fun. Wow, look at this. There's so much news. We have so much extra news. But that's the big news of the day. Hey, is it like that on our Facebook page as well? That everybody knows? Yeah? I know that you guys are very excited. You streamers are joining us. We are live. This is our live chat room right here. So everybody who's going to be in here, they'll be joining us live.
Oh.
Yeah? Hey, you streamer 47441. You came into the room and you left the room. We're ready to begin. Where is everybody in the chat? I'm ready to start this show live.
It started. Go ahead.
I know it started, but I'm trying to find out if we're in the wrong chat room. Colloquy. Torn Tuesday, Justin? Is that where we should be?
We're all good. Everything's good. Don't mess with anything.
No, I just don't see anyone in the chat at all. Hello, everybody. There's August Oakenshield. Good to see you. All of our live chatters are here with us. We get to interact with you right here, live on the show. Allow me to introduce myself, and allow me to do a proper little intro for our show every week, live on theonering.net. We come to you from Meltdown Comics, right here in the heart of Los Angeles. Heart, you know this place. It's a fantastic place. Guys, I'm here every week, usually with Justin, my co-host, but now Clifford Broadway, also known as Quick Beam from theonering.net. I'm here with a special guest, Hart Hayden. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you.
A fellow fan, fellow Lord of the Rings fan. This guy here is a very, very, very popular singer-songwriter and an actor here in Los Angeles, and is a good buddy of mine who has agreed to join us today. This is exciting. The last time that Star Wars and Middle-earth films actually shared theatrical screens during the exact same year. According to this little very nutritional tidbit of trivia from Justin, it seems that The Two Towers and The Attack of the Clones, which was Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, were in theaters at the exact same time in the year 2002. Well, wind the clock forward now to 2015. 13 years later, we're going to get to have a combination of the Battle of the Five Armies, Extended Edition, with, evidently, they're doing the whole marathon. They're going to do the whole Hobbit trilogy. We're going to talk about that news. At the same time, J.J. Abrams is releasing The Force Awakens, which comes out this year. Same time that we're going to get all 3 Hobbit movies. Breaking news today, guys. This has really hit the waves. How many websites are reporting on this? 32. Welcome to Torn Tuesdays. We are live from Meltdown Comics. This is our live little show. Hello, I Stole the One Ring. Hello, Idril7. Yeah, where is everyone? And I know, Idril, are you saying the video is pausing? Well, we'll have to see that there's any video problems. Justin's going to check that out in the background. But everyone join us live. We've got chatters here. I've got my special guest, Hart. He's right here with us now. We're going to talk about his first experiences with the Lord of the Rings films, and how much he loves the Hobbit book, and how his love of the Hobbit book has actually changed his feelings about the Hobbit films. Whoa, that's going to be incendiary. We're going to talk about that. But the big news that everyone in Lord of the Rings world and Hobbit world is talking about, here in our little area of Ringer fandom, the news is that we have an opportunity to go back to the theaters one last time. There you go. Hashtag one last time. Evidently, we just found out that Fathom Events, is that the name of the folks who are doing this? Fathom Events? They're doing an organized theatrical marathon. Probably, I'm guessing, when they get closer to it, they'll announce all of the theaters in which cities around the country that they're going to do this. But we're going to be treated to an entire extended edition Hobbit marathon, 3-movie marathon trilogy in theaters, which will give us our very first chance to see the extended edition, the much anticipated extended edition of the 3rd and final Hobbit film, which Peter Jackson is very busy editing and working on right now. They're adding in additional shots, additional effects. They've got the animation team doing all new creature effects, new music from Howard Shore, many, 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 many minutes. The question burning on everyone's mind is how many extra minutes are getting added to the film. Hello, everybody. What, you guys? Come talk with us. Yeah, we're going to grand for one last time. Idril, if you want a grand, I'm going to give you one before the end of the show. A really good, full-throated grand. I'll give you one later. But just remind me before the show is over. We're going to get to that. I'm excited because I don't know how many extra minutes of extended edition are going to be put back into the Battle of the Five Armies. But as we have discussed on this show in weeks past, and has been, the conventional wisdom among many, many fans we talk to when we run around the convention circuit, is that the Battle of the Five Armies felt incomplete. It felt like there was chock-a-block editing where huge sequences of the story were really not present. So, we watched the theatrical version of Battle of the Five Armies, and it feels, inevitably, like something's missing. Rumor has been going around for months that there'll be 30 to 60 minutes of additional running time added to the Battle of the Five Armies. Now, you only saw An Unexpected Journey, right? Right? We're going to get to your story in just a second, but we haven't even gotten to the other films yet. Go back in time, 15 years ago. Fellowship of the Ring was extended by about 19 minutes. Hello? Eravandi. Welcome. It's nice to have you on the show. Come on, join us in the chat. 19 minutes, I think, was extended. I'm going to look this up and make sure that I do not misspeak. Watch this. Extended editions of Lord of the Rings. Here we are. And they're all for sale on Amazon. Isn't that lovely? Okay? Right here, there's a Lord of the Rings wiki. And I think there was 24, maybe 24 or 26 extra minutes added to the Two Towers. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, which was the third and final one, the big epic finale, was 42 minutes longer. All right? So when it was released theatrically, we remember that The Return of the King showed up in theaters 3 hours and 20 minutes long. 3 hours, 20 minutes long. When you get the extended version at home, it's over 4 hours when you add that extra 42 minutes. Just over a 4-hour epicness. Yeah, Eravandi, you've heard anywhere from, really? Someone said 25 to 30 minutes added to the Battle of the Five Armies? We'll see about that. We will see extended editions. Okay, Fellowship of the Ring, this is incorrect, but these numbers are on the Lord of the Rings wiki. I'm going to read them because they include extra time for the end credits. It says here, Fellowship of the Ring contained 30 minutes of additional footage. No, that's not quite right. It was about 19 minutes. The Two Towers contains 42 minutes of additional footage. Nope, that's not quite right. It was a little bit less than that, but I think that they're adding in time for the credits. And Return of the King, it says, contains 50 minutes of additional footage. What else do we have?
Well, we have a report from Slash Film. I'm looking at Slash Film right now.
You have a report from Slash Film?
They say that it's 174 minutes is the runtime for...
Whoa, 174 minutes.
Battle of the Five Armies, and the theatrical was 144 minutes, so they're saying it's actually 30 minutes extra to the button.
30 minutes extra to
and I don't think there's any way to make those credits any longer at the end of Battle of the Five Armies, so I think that's 30 minutes of non-stop action.
30 minutes of non-stop action? And hey, consider that Return of the King was extended way, way, way longer because there's an extra 16 minutes of charter fan club members who got their names added in. So all those people scroll and scroll, and it takes a long time to get through. And there was lots of extra music that
yeah, that's
they had
what
to
I'm talking
record
about. That
to
they
cover.
Had so many credits on the
so many
on
credits
all of the
on
extended
Return of the King.
editions. All the extended editions had longer credits, but
They do
I
have
don't
longer
think
credits.
Battle of the Five Armies has longer credits. This is 30 minutes
No,
of action.
hi, Sarah. Sarah, it's good to have you here on the show. Welcome to the chat. Sarah, this is our friend Hart. Hart Hayden is a good buddy of mine. We're going to talk about how exciting this is for fans, really hardcore fans, who feel like there isn't going to be any more Middle-earth films, and that they're all done, and we're not going to get any other chances to go back into the theaters. Well, now we know for sure. It's confirmed today that we're going to get to go back to theaters, and the people who are putting it together, they're called Fathom Entertainment. right? Fathom Events. And so, is there a press release? Yeah, here you go, from FarAwayEntertainment.com. The official news reads thusly. Fathom Events and Warner Brothers are partnering to present extended editions of all 3 Hobbit movies shown over 3 nights. So evidently it's not an all-day, single-day affair. It's going to be over 3 separate nights. I guess. The trilogy will be shown for the first time with the extended editions that have never been released in theaters. Also included, the special oomph to get the fans excited. Peter Jackson is going to record an introduction or a special welcoming message that will be shown only in theaters, so you can actually get the director, producer himself, talking to you about these changes to the extended editions and what he's done. So it says, an exclusive introduction by director Peter Jackson. The first night showing starts Monday, October 5th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets will be regular admission prices for each movie. Wow, okay. It is not clear yet whether there's going to be 3 consecutive nights, meaning October 5th, 6th, and 7th. We don't know that yet because it's not been fully announced. Looking at AMC theaters, it looks like there might be just the AMC chain. Maybe there'll be other theater chains. When we get more details, we're going to feed the information to you with the silver spoon. You will be spoon-fed information because that's what we do here at theonering.net. Okay? Idril, if your video is still starting and stopping, I'm not sure. If you guys are having any video tech issues, let me know in the chat. And I'm really interested to see what Peter Jackson's going to say. Maybe he'll ask for forgiveness for the things that he did. Maybe he'll ask for our forbearance, saying, sorry, I never gave you a funeral scene for a very important person who never had a funeral. You read the book, The Hobbit.
Yes.
You love this book. As much as we are Tolkien fans, it comes back to our love of the books, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does.
There's nothing like it.
So,
absolutely nothing.
How old were you at the time when those Lord of the Rings movies came out and you got to see those big, badass Lord of the Rings films?
I believe I was 16 or 17.
Really?
Good age.
Yeah. You were right at teenage prime time,
right
dude.
there,
right?
Prime time.
And what did you think? I mean, it was just operatic, just so
Lord
huge.
of the Rings was huge. It was terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, the cast, the script, the set, everything. Just the computer imaging. Ooh, it was just so well put together.
Brilliant.
And the score. Oh man, there's so much to talk about those movies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do. We talk about how much we love those movies. Now, you had not read the Lord of the Rings, but you had read the Hobbit. So you were ready to go into this world with the Lord of the Rings because you knew what happened with Bilbo's adventure and how he had the riddle game in the dark with Gollum.
Yes.
And how he found the ring that had abandoned Gollum. Really interesting the way Cate Blanchett as Galadriel opens her narration at the opening of the Fellowship of the Ring, and she says, "It abandoned Gollum." Speaking as if the ring has an active will of its own, because it does. The ring itself is the will of Sauron. It has its own will. That's what it is. The ring itself. We watched a movie last night that had a little magic ring motif in it, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah,
we did.
Those little magic ring motifs show up in movies all the time. So when you saw the Lord of the Rings, did you say to yourself, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and read those Lord of the Rings books that I haven't ever read"? Picking up after the Hobbit.
No.
No, really? You weren't strongly motivated to go?
Honestly, I wasn't strongly motivated.
It's good stuff.
I was just hitting the phase of college, so
you had a lot of other reading to do.
There was a lot of other reading.
Yeah. How old were you when you read The Hobbit for the first time?
I'm gonna say 12.
Bingo. Me too. Yeah. People are in between the 10-year-old and the 12-year-old range, usually when they hit The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings for the first time. That's exactly right. See, that's how fans become fans. When you're a preteen and your mind is absorbing everything that you read, and you're like, "Oh wow, this is great stuff. This is so great." That's the time when that little sponge of a brain for children are best exposed to Tolkien's amazing legends and amazing stories. That's the best time, don't you think?
Absolutely.
So, when you did you ever see my dwarvish tattoos?
No.
You didn't see my dwarvish letters? These are the same letters that appear on the moon letters on Thror's map. Remember when Bilbo and Thorin take the map to Rivendell?
Really?
Yeah, they take the map to Rivendell, and it's even in the film where they're like, oh, they're moon letters, they're hidden writing, and this is the dwarf alphabet system that Tolkien devised. It says R-I-N-G-E-R-S, ringers. My tattoo says ringers, just in case you didn't know, and this commemorates my documentary Ringers, which I wrote and produced way back in the day, 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. Oh no, Idril. Oh, Idril, you're going to have to reboot your computer or reboot your browser, I'm afraid. Iravandi, you were 21 when you first read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. A little bit of a late bloomer, a little bit at 21, but still, not so bad. Okay, we have the first clip today. No, we don't have any clips today. I'm excited as all hell to show some clips. We just have an announcement. So you guys have to understand, we're in the vague area of where we get the early level of news. We don't have all the details yet. We don't have subsequent dates beyond October 5th, but we do know for sure that all extended editions of the Hobbit films are now going to be presented as a theatrical experience on 3 different nights. So you have a chance to catch up on the other 2 Hobbit films that you did not ever see. You saw An Unexpected Journey, and you decided to stop there. Now, tell me why. Tell me why.
It just wasn't.
You were actually under the impression there was a different director and a different team of producers, and it was all different.
It just felt something about it.
It did feel different.
Wasn't quite as realistic as the Lord of the Rings films. I think that's what it was. And I genuinely lost interest after I saw the first one. It was kind of, I don't want to say cheesy, but it was kind of childish, and it was
yeah,
like
it
the
was.
imaginative escapade, yes, but the lining up of everything, it was just out of sequence or out of order or something, just something didn't instigate me to go further.
Didn't. Now, I find that fascinating.
Why is that?
Because they had so much money at stake, and they wanted all the fans who were Lord of the Rings fans, like you are, like I am, and they wanted all the fans to bring their love of the Lord of the Rings movies, and they thought it was a guaranteed cinch that the Hobbit movies would be popular with existing Lord of the Rings fans.
Right.
But it's not a guaranteed. It's not a guarantee. It's not a sealed deal. Most of us went and spent $1 billion on all the Hobbit movies. Like I told you earlier, wind back the clock to 14, 15 years ago, every Lord of the Rings movies made $1 billion with a B in theatrical release. Hobbit movies made the same amount of money, $1 billion each film, so that proves, to some degree, that the fan base was still there. But you felt like, even though you read the book and you loved The Hobbit, you didn't think that the movies had what it took. Don't be afraid. No. There's a lot of, we criticize the movies as much as we love some. Of course, it's an opinion show. That's what we're here for, to talk about our opinions. When you feel a movie coming at you, yeah, let the man talk. Let the man talk, guys.
No, it's fine. You're doing a great job.
I'm gonna let the man talk.
You're doing a great job.
You tell me.
It's
what engages you?
What engaged me about Lord of the Rings was the adventure, the darkness, the consistent quest, and there weren't as many games being played. I felt like in the Hobbit movies there was too much childish behavior,
side humor,
or
yeah.
Maybe it was even the visual effects. They just weren't quite up to par for me. That's because
we've heard that conversation before.
You had, you had the Lord of the Rings, which was before, which was better, visually.
Yeah.
Then how does that happen if you're, going with the fourth dimension of time?
Yeah, if you're moving forward, shouldn't we have better technology and better effects?
Yeah.
As we move through time, you would have thought advancements in filmmaking would have made it better.
Yes.
You think? The sequence where Martin Freeman, who plays Bilbo, plays Bilbo, and we get a reprisal for Andy Serkis, reprising his role as Gollum. And they have their scene, their famous, iconic scene, Riddles in the Dark, in Gollum's cave. Did you think that was a cool sequence in the film? Because it was almost exactly like in the book. Almost exactly. A lot of fans told me that was the only part of it that they really liked. was the Riddles in the Dark sequence with Gollum. Gollum looked good, I think.
I think so too. Yeah.
Gollum looked good.
Yeah, Gollum always looks great.
He looked great. But did you notice?
I love good old Gollum.
In Lord of the Rings, all of our other major orcs and villains, they were real people with physical effects makeup.
Yeah.
You switch to the Hobbit, and Azog, the pale orc, is a CGI creation, and all of these are CGI orcs.
Yeah.
That was one big caveat
Yeah.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You've hit it right on the nail.
Yeah.
A lot of fans did not like that. Justin, who is usually my co-host sitting right here,
Yeah.
every week Justin complains about how different it was to go from Lord of the Rings with practical effects for your orcs that are right there on camera, looking like realistic orcs or Uruk-hai,
Right.
versus the CGI version of the big baddie they had in the Hobbit film.
Yeah.
Didn't work for you either, did it?
I know, and I don't know all the technical jargon or lingo for this, but I did realize there was a considerable difference in visual effects, and
See?
it's quite unsettling.
Justin,
I couldn't carry forward.
Justin, you've been validated.
Justin, I'm right there with you.
You've completely
I'm right there
validated
with you.
Justin's comments that he's been saying for months and months.
Absolutely.
That there was a big difference.
He knows what he's talking about.
I'm in the same camp with Justin in that I remember watching Viggo Mortensen have that incredible face-to-face sword fight with Lurtz, the big bad guy that Christopher Lee, has named his main chief, Uruk-hai. He's like, he sends Lurtz out with a hunting party. They kill Boromir. Everyone in the theater is weeping because Sean Bean has died. Elijah Wood's running off to leave because he's afraid all of his friends are going to die. The Fellowship is broken. Merry and Pippin get kidnapped by these orcs. And then we have this final scene where Viggo Mortensen has this great fight. Like a real in-your-face fight with Lurtz.
Yeah.
Not with a CGI version of a creature. There.
Hey,
it seems so much more
speaking
realistic.
of fights, we have breaking news. It looks like
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. We're hearing breaking news in the
Peter
background.
Jackson is trying. It might be going for an R-rated version of the extended edition.
You're kidding.
He said there's so many beheadings and so much violence.
Whoa.
Did you hear that, guys?
Whoa.
I don't think you guys could hear Justin. He's back there without a microphone. Can you hear? Lurtz was epic. Yes, Idril. Lurtz was epic and terrifying. I agree. And the realism of Viggo Mortensen having a physical confrontation with our actor friend, it was Lawrence Makoare, who's
Really?
a buddy of mine. Lawrence Makoare was under all that makeup, physically doing those fight scenes with Viggo, and that's the visceral quality that you think was missing from The Hobbit. Right?
That's it.
Okay. News, rumors in the background. Before we lose our conversation thread with Hart, and I'm so glad you're here. Yes, and Ellen Design, thank you, Ellen. Ellen, hey, it's Ellen from last night.
Hey,
Ellen, look who I've got on the show with me today. It's Hart. Isn't that cool? This is an interesting rumor. If Battle of the Five Armies Extended Edition gets pushed into a hard PG-13 that the Motion Picture Association of America will not allow as PG-13, because of the violence and the beheadings, they might push it into an R rating, and that would be the very first time ever in the history of Middle-earth films that Peter Jackson delivered an R. I don't think he can do that. He has a contract. Justin, seriously, he has a contract.
Fathom Events is a special one-off thing.
Fathom Events are special one-off that don't represent what the home video is going to look like?
It's exactly what the home video is going to look like. They just play the DVD or the Blu-ray.
That's what they do. They just play the Blu-ray. They just play the Blu-ray, and that's it in the theater.
This is considered a special. That's why when you go to a Fathom event, you can watch opera, and it's not rated, or the Metropolitan Museum. Yeah. So
I get it. For you streamer 76601, you're from England. Yes, exactly. It's a classification rating of R that restricts people from 18 and under going into the theater without an accompanying parent or guardian. You know, I need you to be my guardian so I can go to the R-rated film.
I don't think so.
Would you be my guardian?
I don't think so.
I need you to vouch and be my uncle. He's my uncle.
Some are saying they've heard that as well.
Really? Okay, Iravandi? All right, we're on it. All right, this is if this really happens, that's big news, because that's never happened in the history of any Middle-earth films that he would look. As a filmmaker, you get a contract with a studio, and your contract says you have to deliver the film on this date, and there are pages and pages of contractual legal things that you have to fulfill. What type of tape stock or whatever digital media, and you have to have an in time and an out time marked clearly for where you begin the cut, where you end the cut, and you have to specify blah 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 that you got certification from the MPAA that gave you a PG or a PG-13 rating, and nothing above or beyond that. You're under contract.
Well, my question to you...
I guarantee you that Peter Jackson had the same contract that I had when I delivered my documentary film. Sony Pictures demanded you cannot get a ratings classification beyond a PG-13. And we got a PG-13 because Dominic Monaghan, our narrator, made a drug reference and started making pot-smoking noises in the middle of the narration, and we got slapped with a PG-13. But
well,
at least
you've seen all the extended
we
editions
met our
of The
contract.
Hobbit. Let me ask you this, Cliff.
No, Peter Jackson cannot
Did
deliver
the
R
other
when he's under
extended
contract.
editions of The Hobbit get more violent? Because you've seen An Unexpected Journey and Desolation of Smaug.
No. The extended editions of the existing Hobbit films did not get any more violent at all. We got brief nudity in An Unexpected Journey, because there's a scene where, where Bilbo and the dwarves go to Rivendell. And you're like, oh, hello, Hugo Weaving. Nice to see you. You're still here in Rivendell. Well, of course, it's 60 years before the events in The Lord of the Rings, as you know. But we got a scene where the dwarves are bathing in the fountain, and they're all naked. So we got nudity, but we didn't get any more violence. Desolation of Smaug did not have any extra violence in its extended edition that was
Sarah
noticeable.
in the chat room
it was all
brings up
conversation
a great
with
point.
Beorn
She says
and
they
Thrain.
made Sleepy Hollow, the classic Tim Burton film, an R-rated film because of the beheadings. That was a clean movie. There wasn't much blood or cursing or sex or anything, but the beheadings on Sleepy Hollow caused it to get an R-rated. So
That is true.
This would have a lot of beheading.
Sarah, good point. You're right. Well, in England, they classify things differently, so that our audience is all the way across the world. When you guys are getting a ratings classification in England, they have different criteria and a different set of standards than I'm sure they do here in America, right? Here in America, sex is okay. Violence is okay. Drugs are okay, and a lot of violence is okay. But if you show any kind of sexuality, then that's not okay. That's the usual weird trope for American
How did we
films.
get on this topic? I don't understand. Wait,
Because we're on the topic of how you get a movie
I'm
rating.
trying to remember how many beheadings were in the first Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think the first Lord of the Rings had one beheading. Two Towers had one beheading. I think there was only one beheading in each of the Lord of the Rings, and that's why they got PG-13.
An Unexpected Journey has a beheading that's a comedy bit. There's a comedy bit in Goblin Town where Gandalf chops the head off the goblin, and the goblin looks, and he looks at his neck, and Gandalf goes, haha, and knocks his head off with the staff, and then he's beheaded.
It's one. So if
There's one, and they go for comedy.
But the Battle of the Five Armies will have multiple beheadings.
If the Battle of the Five Armies has more beheadings and more decapitations, Lurtz gets decapitated. He loses his arm when Viggo Mortensen fights him in Fellowship of the Ring. You remember that, okay? And he ultimately loses his head, too, in the end. But Eravandi says the rating system doesn't make sense to me so many times. Like, I heard, oh, the Disney film, Saving Mr. Banks, would have been rated R if they had shown one scene of Disney smoking. And he smoked like a chimney. He smoked cigarettes all the time. I don't know, Eravandi, if they would have given an R rating to Saving Mr. Banks. They would have given it a PG-13. But the attitude towards smoking in films is like the attitude towards sex in films, or the way violence is depicted in American films. The American board, which is called the MPAA, will make weird decisions on how they're going to rate stuff based upon our cultural climate. I'm sure it's different in England. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would you expect?
Absolutely.
Would you expect more beheadings to get you an R rating?
I probably would.
Last night's film, we watched the old Don Bluth animated classic, Titan A.E. That's the movie we watched last night. And the Nathan Lane character gets his head snapped, right?
Yes,
that earned the movie a PG rating.
Ooh.
Yeah. Someone in the room thought that it got PG-13 because of that. But no, it got a PG rating only, a PG rating. But The Wind Rises, which is the Miyazaki film, it got PG-13 because all the characters are incessantly smoking cigarettes. Through the entire film, there are dozens and dozens of cigarettes being lit and smoked aggressively in the entire movie. That got them a PG-13, just for smoking. Okay? So, I wonder, Battle of the Five Armies allegedly is going to be 30 minutes longer, and the rumors are now coming in that it's going to get an R rating. Peter Jackson might be pushing for that. Let me ask you something. What's your favorite memory of the Lord of the Rings movies? And then we're going to connect it to the Hobbit movies, which you've only seen 1 of 3. Remember, my guest, Hart, who's got... He's very aware of good storytelling, and he knows what he's talking about. But you only saw 1 Hobbit film, and you never carried forward to the next 2 films.
Right. What I appreciate about the Lord of the Rings is I think it was the dynamic between Frodo and Gollum.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
There's this. I can't remember which movie it comes from, but the scene where they're climbing to the mountain. I think it was Sauron's mountain.
Yeah, the Mount Doom in the third film.
Mount
Yeah.
Doom, yeah. And
Desperately trying to get to the end.
there's just that relationship between the two. It's so compelling. It's really like an incredible thing to do.
It is.
To describe, and I'm sorry, I'm short on words. I don't really have anything
Not at
more
all.
to explain, but there is that really captivating essence of the two of them together, and their lonely kind of fight that nobody really understands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so isolated, but it's very explicit and profound in
It
so
is.
many different ways.
There's such a parallel between Frodo, who understands what torture Gollum has gone through, bearing the ring for so long.
Right.
And
right.
Frodo's only had it for a few years, you know, and had it hidden away in his uncle's trunk at home. Never used it.
Right.
But the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many is a famous line of dialogue that Gandalf has. Remember in Fellowship of the Ring? Let's do this together because everyone knows this dialogue. We know it very, very well. I wish this hadn't happened. Bilbo is being referenced when Frodo and Gandalf have this conversation in the Mines of Moria. That happens in the first film, Fellowship of the Ring. Your brain cells are coming together now. Hearts remember. You remember the film now. Frodo says, "I wish that had never happened to me," and Gandalf says, "So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us." And Gandalf goes on to say that it was the pity of Bilbo that may rule the fate of many, because Frodo says it was a pity that Bilbo didn't kill Gollum when he had the chance, and Gandalf says, "Pity? Pity is what stayed Bilbo's hand." And then Peter Jackson shows us that moment of pity in the Hobbit film, where he has his knife sting. He has Gollum at knife point, and he's about to kill him, but doesn't kill him. And he sees a tear going down Gollum's cheek, and Bilbo shows mercy on him and decides not to kill Gollum, and instead he just jumps over him, still wearing the ring, invisible, and leaps to freedom and runs away. And Gollum is left screaming in the dark, saying, "Baggins, we hates it forever." Remember that? So Peter Jackson deliberately puts these things in all the Hobbit films that are thematically or story-wise connected to what he did in The Lord of the Rings. And you haven't seen the last 2 Hobbit films, but we'll get you there eventually. We'll get you there eventually.
I'm sure you will.
Because it's actually worth finishing. The third film is actually a really good wrap-up and brings us together to what's going to go into Fellowship of the Ring after.
I'm curious.
By the time you get there.
I am curious, so
You are curious.
I would like to see
That's good.
later too.
But the ideas that we're talking about here are how connected we are to The Hobbit. Hart was so connected to the Hobbit book, he didn't like what the Hobbit films were, and he didn't think that they connected with the success of what Lord of the Rings films had done 14 or 15 years ago. So, but you're still curious, perhaps, to maybe
finish it.
You gotta finish. You gotta finish.
Yeah, maybe I have to finish. Maybe.
Finish what you started, human.
Maybe.
Finish what you started, human. Famous advice from Miyazaki. Okay, the thing. Oh yeah, you guys are talking about Gothmog, the half-baked orc. Yeah, Gothmog looks like the orc that didn't get fully baked in the orc oven. Okay, no, 30 minutes of running time is a rumor. All right, let's take 1 second to talk about the difference between fact and rumor. Fact. These people that we've just announced today are going to do on Monday, October 5th. They're called Fathom events. They're combined with Warner Brothers and at least one theater chain here in America, AMC movie theaters. We don't know what other theaters in other countries, but we will find out. As soon as we find out other territories that have this available, if it will be available, we'll let you know on the front page of theonering.net. And we don't know what consecutive dates they really mean. It might be October 5th, 6th, and 7th. Keep your calendars cleared for those nights, and they'll do 3 nights in a row, 3 movies in a row. That might be interesting for us to wait until the theatrical experience to see all 3 in a row. We might actually take you to the theater and see them, okay? I'm going to tell you that the regular versions of the Hobbit movies work at their own level, but nothing's as good as the extended versions. The extended versions of the Hobbit movies are so much better than theatrical ones.
Why is that?
Because Peter took out essential pieces of the story
On purpose.
on purpose, because he needed to deliver a shorter cut, I think, for the theaters, but he also wanted to save stuff for the fans for later, which makes me think, hi Marfles, welcome to the show. It makes me think that it was all deliberate to give us a theatrical version which had less, so that we'd buy the extended edition. We have to buy it because we're fans and we have to buy it when it comes out later. So I'm curious what you will see. You haven't seen extended versions of the Lord of the Rings movies, have you? Not even yet. Okay, let me tell you why they're better. Let's go back to the Return of the King. You guys know why the extended version of the Return of the King is so much better. Everybody knows this. The reason why is because the evil wizard Saruman the White, who was played by Christopher Lee, at the end of the Two Towers movie, the big successful battle at Helm's Deep is over, and the good guys win the day. Here comes Gandalf at the very end with the cavalry, and everyone wins the day at the end of the Two Towers. And then we never hear from Saruman again. We never hear from him again. We never see him again. And by the time the Return of the King starts up, the third and final film, Treebeard makes some side reference and says, there's a wizard here that we have to deal with, locked up in his tower. Because evidently, the trees and the Ents have flooded Isengard, and they flooded Isengard, and poor Saruman
I
was
heard
left
that
alone.
they didn't kill Saruman in the Two Towers because Peter wanted the option open to either kill him on the spike or possibly finish the scouring of the Shire. If he could get enough money to finish the scouring of the Shire.
There was a rumor to that.
So that's
right.
That's why he wasn't in the theatrical of Return of the King, because they weren't sure how they were going to end him, if he was going to be there or do this or that. But
that's intriguing, an intriguing concept. Peter Jackson never finished the story arc with Saruman's character. And the reason why we as fans love the extended edition of Return of the King is because the very front of the movie has an extra 12 or 15 minutes that let us have this character come back with all this dialogue straight from Tolkien's book. It's the best scene because Christopher Lee is someone who, we've just lost recently, and I'm still feeling his loss. He was brilliant, and he was so brilliant as Saruman the White Wizard. And in that extended version of Return of the King, I'll show it to you because I've got the Blu-ray right there at the house. You've got to see it. Christopher Lee comes back to give Saruman a great final scene. And the whole audience finally understands his fate, his final fate. That's the reason why the extended versions are always better, because there's more details, more characters, and things make more sense in the narrative about who the characters are, what they want, and why they're there. It all makes more sense. Okay, so really, Ellen Design says that she's never heard of this, and I had heard of this a long, long time ago, but I always dismissed it as a rumor. Peter was considering whether he could get more money and more budget or more time to get the Return of the King to have a proper Scouring of the Shire ending. And that's just a rumor. I had also heard the rumor, as Ellen had heard,
Well, we know they filmed both
that they had jettisoned the Scouring of the Shire concept from the very, very beginning, and it was never going to.
They filmed it though.
Oh, Idril is correct. Yes, they filmed some scenes. I think Frodo sees the foreshadowing in Galadriel's mirror when they look in the mirror of Galadriel in Fellowship of the Ring. They did shoot some scenes of orcs destroying the Shire, and there's a bit of a brief glimpse of that. Wow.
But
Wow.
and the very
That's
first
fascinating.
scene they ever shot for the character of Saruman was him falling off the tower, because the very first spy pic that the One Ring ever posted
It was one of our
was
earliest
the
spy pictures.
picture
Yes.
of his dead body on the thing, and we couldn't tell if it was a white robe or a gray robe, so we didn't know like which wizard they were killing. But that was huge speculation. So they filmed both. They filmed the Scouring of the Shire and they filmed that scene, and Peter just wanted the option, so he didn't.
That's interesting that a director would want to spend all the time and all the budget just to have a story option that he could cut at the last second. That's an interesting approach. Too bad we never got that full Scouring of the Shire in the Lord of the Rings originally. That would have been so fantastic. Okay, Marfals, to answer your question, will there be more Beorn in the extended edition? You remember reading The Hobbit, and when they get to the chapter Queer Lodgings, after they've escaped from Goblin Town, and after Bilbo has had his riddle game with Gollum, then they end up going to Beorn's house, and Beorn is the skin changer, the character who can be either a great, tall, bearded human, or he can change into a fearsome bear. Remember him in the book?
Vaguely.
Vaguely? You do remember
Vaguely.
him. Well, in all other versions of The Hobbit that have been made, the animated versions of The Hobbit from the 70s, other versions of The Hobbit, the stage presentations, that character was always cut from the adaptation. All the fans who love Beorn in the books had never seen his character come to life in any adaptation of The Hobbit until the second Hobbit film that Peter Jackson did,
Well,
The Desolation of Smaug. There was Beorn. We actually go to Beorn's house. We meet him. He's played by Mikael Persbrandt, one of the most famous actors in Sweden, really popular actor in Sweden. Amelia would have told you all about her love of Mikael Persbrandt. Now, extended edition of Desolation of Smaug had a lot more Beorn added back in. And yes, Marfals, the assumption is that there will be more Beorn in the extended version of Battle of the Five Armies. First chance that Americans are going to get to see it will be Monday, October 5th. Otherwise, we've got to wait for the street date when the DVD and Blu-rays will come out. I believe that's going to be November 16th. Okay. Ustreamer2734 has said, Peter said 30 minutes the day after the premiere of BOFA. Many days have passed since then. He edited the film since that day up to today, and the duration of extra footage may have changed. There's no confirmation that it will be 30 minutes. It could be 40 or 15. But you know what? Idril, you're also correct. We're getting multiple sources that are saying that there's a 30-minute mark.
And that's what some of the Weta folk were saying at Comic-Con.
And at San Diego Comic-Con, when we were actually person to person, side by side with our friends from Weta, the beautiful visual effects people, they also said be 30 extra minutes. What do you think about any filmmaker who takes a film and decides, I'm going to add in bonus material, extra cuts? The guy from Watchmen did it. Zack Snyder. He did a director's cut of Watchmen with like 24 extra minutes of footage. Other filmmakers have been doing that too. What do you think of this process of a film not being final until the director says, here's more?
Oh, I think it's great. It's beneficial for the actors especially. I mean, any actor who has a scene that's kept away from an audience is going to be excited about its release into viewing. And also, as far as storylines are concerned, a lot of the time storylines are lost, plots, and certain off-topic things and little moments are lost. And then those extended editions come out. They explain.
They sure do.
So much more, and they bring that.
They do.
Color back.
They do.
The story.
For example, adding more color and adding more details. You remember the Fellowship of the Ring, where after Gandalf dies and they leave the Mines of Moria, the surviving members of the Fellowship go down to LotH, the woods of LotH, and they meet Galadriel. Oh, Cate Blanchett, you look lovely today. And she gives them a chance to heal and rest. Remember that part? And then, before they leave Lorien, she gives them gifts. But that scene was cut from the theatrical version, and the only person who's shown be given a gift from Galadriel is only Elijah Wood. He's the only person who gets that very important little glass phial. Remember that? And she says, I give you the light of Erindil, our brightest star. And she gives it to him. But when you watch extended version of Fellowship, you'll see everybody, Sean Bean, Viggo Mortensen, all the hobbits, even Samwise, played by Sean Astin, they all get wonderful gifts from the Lady Galadriel. And there's an extended conversation about food, supplies, strategy between them before they, get in the boats and leave down the river. There's a lot more conversation and interesting bits. So when you watch extended versions of these films, more of the narrative makes sense. So you have something to look forward to. See? He loves the Lord of the Rings movies. Okay? Interesting that the Hobbit movie didn't catch the same fire. But I know that the filmmakers deliberately had a different tone. They had more playfulness in the Hobbit films. They had more kiddie humor for children's humor. They had the three bumbling trolls were very bumbling, but there was children's humor with the three trolls.
As I was getting older, I wanted more grit.
You want more grit?
I wanted more grit.
You don't get grit until the third Hobbit film. Then it gets gritty. Then it gets gritty because they're bringing it into alignment with Lord of the Rings films. Yeah, that's why we're all excited about Battle of the Five Armies being extended 30 minutes with more violence, more beheadings, more grit. And more importantly, somebody, a very important character, gets a funeral scene, which was not available in the theatrical version. We didn't see somebody get a funeral who should have had a funeral. But you've read the book, so you know who dies and you know who lives. If you remember. From when you were 10 or 11 years old, if you fucking remember that far back. Pardon my French. Oh, hey, Idril. Fun backstory on Gimli's receiving 3 from Galadriel. Yeah, I love what you're saying, Eravandi and Idril. That little dialogue from Gimli saying that he asked the Lady Galadriel for a single golden hair from her head. That's all he asked for. When they're giving out, like, beautiful shiny daggers and elven rope, and they're giving out all these beautiful gifts from the elves, Gimli the dwarf, he was just so taken by Cate Blanchett's beauty, he just asked her for a single hair from her golden head. And Legolas turns to him and says, and did she? And he says, and Gimli the dwarf responds, with his breath taken away, he says, she gave me 3. And the look in his eyes, like he's just besotted. He's just besotted. So I think all that Tauriel love interest with Keely really has a lot of seeds in that moment where Gimli the dwarf looks like he's completely in love with Cate Blanchett. He's swooning. He's besotted, don't you? But you didn't see that extended edition of Fellowship of the Ring. It's really a lovely moment.
But he got her DNA. I think that was his point.
He got her DNA. That's right. So when he's ready to, do the dwarven cloning factory, he'll be ready to clone Galadriel 1,000 years from now when Gimli invents the dwarven cloning machine. Yes, that's right. Idril says in the chat room, in the Silmarillion, or in the Unfinished Tales, I can't remember, Fëanor asks Galadriel for 3 hairs from her head, for her hair was famous, and he drew some inspiration for the Silmarils from it, but she refused adamantly. Really, Idril? I'll have to look that up. That sounds like a pretty cool, cool side story. I bet you I can find that in Unfinished Tales. Okay? Yes, Tom is saying, which one should I read? Okay? Tom, if you haven't read any of Tolkien's books, definitely start with The Hobbit first, then read The Lord of the Rings afterward. Okay? Alright? And Eravandi, there's some conversation here in the chat room, which is why I love doing a live show with everybody live. Okay, if you want to watch all 6 Middle-earth films that Peter Jackson has given us, a new conventional wisdom has been arising among fans that you can start as a newbie with Hobbit films. You can start first because they are lighter. They're lighter in tone, and it might play better. Why start with the heavy, heavy Lord of the Rings first, which has all the Sturm and Drang of a German opera? Thank you. Made a Wagnerian reference. I'm making references to Wagner just so you know what kind of a show we're having here today. Why would you start with heavy and then go afterwards to the light, you know, cotton candy of The Hobbit? It might not play as well, and for you, that might be the very reason why it didn't play. If you start with the Hobbit films, you start with playful, and then it gets more serious and more. And by the time you get to Lord of the Rings, it's so serious there's no humor left at all.
What do you think?
Or hardly any.
What is the age range for the Hobbit films? Where would you start watching that? What age would you recommend?
11 to 13.
11 to 13.
Yeah, I would start watching Hobbit films at age 10 or 11.
Okay.
And
what about Lord of the Rings?
I would start watching Lord of the Rings when I'm a little bit older. If you want to get a child to absorb the themes of this and the real meat and potatoes of it, then it depends. It all depends upon the, you know, how developmentally
question, Cliff.
How developmentally along your child is emotionally or psychologically. If you have children who are like really developmentally there, then you could bring Lord of the Rings to them when they're teenagers.
Well, it would
if you have children that are not that
film
developmentally there,
be the
then you might not show
ultimate,
them Lord of the Rings until 14 or 15, maybe.
Negative thing against Tolkien? Would a rated R
No.
Hobbit be that? Because
I
it's
don't
a
think
children's book. It was always a children's book. It's meant to be a children's book. Would with this movie extended edition Battle of Five Armies, if it became a rated R, would it be the last punch against Tolkien? Like, oh, you add characters, you ruin the triangles, the line of Durin. Like, it's just the final insult.
The final insult? No, I don't think an R rating would represent any final insult to Tolkien's property, because if you have already felt insulted by the changes in the adaptation, well, they left the barn door open a long time ago, and all the animals left. Yeah. It's too late to feel that way. It's too late to have some imagined injury of how they're insulting Tolkien, because if you're already going to feel that way, you're already there, right? Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You saw the Hobbit film, and you saw, you know, Sylvester McCoy pulling...
both Hobbit films.
You saw the first 2 Hobbit films?
Yeah.
I thought you only saw the one, An Unexpected Journey.
I saw the cartoon.
Oh, so you saw the animated Hobbit film,
yeah.
which is my favorite from when I was a child. Okay, look, the problem is that the Hobbit movies are not anything at all like Tolkien's book. That's why I have called it Hobbit 2.0. For years now, I've called it Hobbit 2.0. It doesn't even resemble the original book. And by the end of the films, by the end of, you know, The Desolation of Smaug, the second Hobbit film, you might as well take Tolkien's name off the credits, because it doesn't even resemble his story at that point. So, what the heck? I don't take personal, you know, umbrage, and I don't think Tolkien's legacy is being insulted, but an R rating, I think, is less likely because of Peter Jackson's contractual agreements with Warner Brothers. So we'll let that stand as a rumor for now. Just a rumor. Okay? But the Hobbit movie doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings because Sylvester McCoy is pulling a stick insect out of his mouth, and he's smoking a pipe with Gandalf, and the smokes come out of his ears, which is something you'd expect in an old Mickey Mouse cartoon from the 30s. Right?
Yeah.
That's something you'd expect from a children's cartoon from ages past. But Peter puts it right there in the realism, the fantasy realism that was so well built in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings does not have that tone of humor. So you did notice the difference. You did. Well, The Hobbit has a lot more playfulness. The co-screenwriter, Philippa Boyens, she called it a golden-hued fable, or a fairy tale. And like all fairy tales from that part of our childhood, they are a bit more golden-hued when we look at them from the prism of nostalgia, right? That was their intention in making the first Hobbit film with that playfulness. but it didn't fly. It didn't work for you. You wanted more Lord of the Rings. You wanted more, because you were already there.
Yeah.
With what you had seen.
Yeah.
See? Not everybody gets on the Hobbit bandwagon because of their entrance to the first film. I am very excited about an extended edition marathon with you, because you've never seen any extended editions of any of the 6 films. So I get to pull out the magic of high-definition Blu-ray, and I get to show you some of the coolest stuff that was added back into the films. And you can judge for yourself whether it helps the story or not.
Yeah.
Best part about extended editions for the Hobbit films is that they really do improve some of the problems with the story. Justin, you'll agree with me on this? Best example is extended version of Desolation of Smaug is such a great improvement over the regular version. It's great. More Beorn, more conversations for plot, psychology of the characters put into place, and a huge sequence with a missing character that we never even got to see. Thorin's missing father, Thrain. Oh, it's all added back into the film. Yeah, you met Thorin in the first Hobbit film, and we heard this side talk about his father. Well, he went missing. We don't know if he was taken prisoner or killed. We never knew. He went missing. And so we never know.
If
when you watch
the
Desolation of
extended
Smaug, you'll
edition
meet
has
Thorin's
True
father for
Love's
15
Last
minutes.
Kiss?
What's that? True Love's Last
What
Kiss?
if the extended edition has True Love's Last Kiss?
What? You mean True Love's Last Kiss that brings Keely back to life? Is that what you're suggesting?
Not back to life. I mean, he's dead.
No. No.
Her kissing him is...
This is not Westeros. When people die in Middle-earth, they die.
No, but...
And they're dead.
But
It's,
no,
all right,
it's the
except
last
Gandalf.
kiss.
Gandalf is the only one who goes
Do you
back.
think she'll kiss him?
No, I don't think there's going to be any
We've never
kiss.
seen a kiss.
We've never seen a kiss between the lovelorn couple. You don't even know what lovelorn couple we're talking about, but you'll find out soon. No, I don't think there will be love's last kiss. No, I don't think so. If the bit,
Disgusted at that.
I am not pleased with the idea of love's last kiss, but you know it would be interesting. You know, Keely is very young, very, 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 very young. He hasn't even grown his full beard. He just has some scruff, He doesn't have a full beard yet. You know what the dwarves look like when they get older? You know, they don't look like James Nesbitt. When the dwarves get older, they look like John Rhys Davies, or they look like Ken Stott, who played Balin, all right? They get bigger noses, proboscis noses, bigger ears. The older the dwarves get, they get longer beards, and their faces change with age. That's why Keely and Feely look the way they look, because they're so young. I guarantee you that if Adam Brown's character, Ori, or if any of those younger dwarves were shown older, wouldn't it be interesting to see Tauriel, who is immortal and still beautiful, looking like Evangeline Lilly, standing next to her husband of 90 years or 100 years, and look at how scruffy and big-nosed and weird-looking Keely might be. Just visualize that for a minute. Eternally youthful Tauriel next to Keely, who's 100 years older, looking like a troglodyte. Just visualize that while you're at it. Just for fun, all right? There should be more conversation in this extended edition of Battle of the Five Armies to explain more about the Three Rings. Yes, that's right. Philippa said there would be more about the Three Rings. Yes, I agree. Ustreamer2734. We'd better have more of that conversation in there. And we should have the exchange of the staff between Radagast to Gandalf. And more importantly, we should have somebody's big funeral that should be there. But I want to have more conversation at the end between Thranduil, the Lord of the Woodland Realm, and Tauriel. You don't know these characters yet because you have to be introduced to them in the next Hobbit film. It's interesting because at the end of Battle of the Five Armies, theatrical version, he's just standing there. Thranduil is watching her weep, and she's weeping and holding the guy's body, and then we leave her. We don't even know what happens to her character. I'm interested to find out what happens to Tauriel's character in a very real way. We've invested so much into her character for 2 movies. I want to know what happens to her ultimately in the end. Love is blind, Cliff. Yes, that's true. Love is blind. Yes, Ellen Design. That's quite a vision. See, Ellen's appreciating my joke. You know, eternally youthful Tauriel with, you know, proboscis nose aging Keely 100 years on. Just think about that. Well, Marfil says that Thorin didn't get ugly. No, he didn't. Thorin did not get ugly at all. He got older, but they kept, they kept him, Richard Armitage, looking better and looking better and better. So, if you could go anywhere in Middle-earth, since you have lived in these fictional realms, you've read these books, The Hobbit, where would you like to go and visit? Or who? Who would you like to visit if you could just go through that magical wardrobe and go into Narnia? Well, I mean, Middle-earth. Where'd you like to go?
I've always been a big fan of trees and nature, so
Yeah?
I'd like to see that forest. I'm not sure what it was called, but
Fangorn.
Fangorn.
Yeah, Fangorn. Fangorn Forest.
It's beautiful.
That's what the elves call it. Fangorn Forest.
Yeah.
That was Treebeard's wonderful place. I love me some Treebeard. Treebeard, I love me some Treebeard. When I show you the extended clip from the Two Towers, you're going to get more Treebeard, and you'll even get his poetry. Treebeard starts reciting his beautiful poetry to the hobbits. You'll get to see that.
All right.
I love me some Treebeard. I totally love me some Treebeard. Wow. Okay, it's going to be no big noses for Tariel. That's right. Yes, they would. Yes, Marfolds, they would be able to have babies because, there's interspecies love and relationships in other parts of Middle-earth. It happened where human men and elves actually coupled together, and then that's how we got Elrond and Elros, and both of them had to decide whether they were going to be man or elf. Each of those boys were given a choice, and one brother chose to be human, the other brother chose to be elf. They were given a choice by the Valar. Very interesting choice to be given. But Tom Hiddlestorm wants to go to Rivendell. Ellen Design says she definitely wants to go to Rivendell. My friend Hart here says he wants to go to Fangorn Forest, which is lovely. There's a couple of places I would like to go if I could go to Middle-earth. I've always wanted to go to see the Grey Havens, which is where all the ships leave at the end of the story, because I always wanted to meet Círdan the shipwright, the guy who had the wisdom to take his elven ring and give it to Gandalf. He had great wisdom, gave his magic ring to Gandalf when he met Gandalf for the first time. And I just wanted to see some beautiful places that we don't get to see much in the narrative. Professor Tolkien is very good at giving descriptions and places we get to see with amazing detail, but there's some places he does not describe very much at all. Prince Imrahil from Dol Amroth, he's in the books, but he's not in the movies. I've always wanted to go to hang out with Prince Imrahil and go to his kingdom way, way, way over on the western coastal shores of Gondor. I've always wanted to visit Dol Amroth and see if it looks like Casterly Rock. I always thought in my mind that Dol Amroth was like some beautiful little seaside citadel, a castle on the bluffs of the coast, like Casterly Rock. So I thought that it'd be cool to go to Dol Amroth. I want to go to other coastal places like the Grey Havens, and I thought it would be really cool to go and see what Mordor was like after the fall of Sauron, after the orcs were destroyed and they ran away and Sauron was gone, and after the volcano was done blowing up and after all those things were destroyed. It will be really kind of cool and interesting to go visit other parts of Mordor and see if the plants came back, to see if anything green or good started coming back to life after all the evil was gone from Mordor. Maybe not likely, but it'd be an interesting little exploration, and it would be a hell of a lot safer. It would be the only safe time to go and visit the evil land of Mordor after the evil was eradicated. It'd be a hell of a lot safer to take a hiking trip and go check out Mordor. What do you think?
I think there would be life.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to believe that life would respawn.
That life would return. That nature would bring herself back.
Absolutely.
Nature always finds a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. To bring balance back. Okay. Hey, Idril says that she wants to go and see Rhûn, the great vast lands to the east of Rovanion. Yes, Rhûn and South Gondor. Yeah, that's a cool place. The Shire. Everyone wants to go to the Shire. I've actually been to New Zealand a few times. I've actually been there. to the beautiful,
Wow.
you know, the set locations for the Shire exist, and they've been restored and maintained with all the beautiful plants and everything's there. You can go visit all the Hobbit holes, and you can visit Bag End in the Shire, in Matamata, New Zealand.
Wow.
I promised I'm going to take Jure there. He's going to love it. He's going to love it. In conclusion, Cliff has said this week that we will not have the first promotional clip of the extended edition. True? Well, you streamer2734, what you're talking about doesn't exist. There is no promotional clip for the extended edition of Battle of the Five Armies. Not yet. Soon, like any day now, like now that we've got this information today about Fathom Events partnering with Warner Brothers to do a theatrical showing. Yeah, I mean, we'll eventually get a promo teaser of some kind. And it could happen any week now. But Peter has not delivered one yet. Not yet. Oh, yes, okay. Dol Guldur in its heyday. Yeah, Sarah, that would be a fun place to check out. Yeah, that would be kind of a cool place to check out. Dol Guldur in its heyday. Now, one person says that Mordor would just be an empty, scarred, empty pit with nothing. And another chatter says it would be interesting to see reflourished, reborn Mordor. That would be interesting. The people of Nirn inhabited southern Mordor. Yes, Idril, I read that somewhere. Southern Mordor was habitable because there was actual arable land. They actually had a system of dry land farming in southern Mordor so that Sauron could actually raise enough crops and grain to feed all of his armies. You can't have an army without giving them some kind of food. Right. So southern Mordor, way, way, way down below the horrible volcanic plateau of Gorgoroth. If you go far enough south, I would have thought that Nirn and that area near the inland sea of Nirn would have been a habitable place. Just in my fancy, I would have thought in the fourth age of man, after the destruction of Sauron, it would be an interesting place to go visit. That's just me. But I'm with you. I'd also go to Fangorn. I would love to talk to the shepherds of the trees. Because, you know, my nickname, Quickbeam, is one of those Ents. Ooh. Treebeard has a young friend in the story, and his name is Quickbeam, as in beam of wood, not beam of light. Get it? Beam of wood. Yeah. And he was a quick Ent. He was a very hasty Ent. And that's me. I'm the hastiest Ent of them all. Okay, and Idril is reading now. She's got some... You found something on the pages, didn't you, Idril? And they lived more north after the Fourth Age began, just not near where the Gates or Barad-dûr or Mount Doom was. Yeah, that's right. No one went into the plateau of Gorgoroth, because after the destruction of Sauron at the end of the War of the Ring, it was just a blasted, sunken, volcanic pit, and no life would live there. Very interesting. Okay, so, favorite character from The Hobbit. Go. Favorite character from The Hobbit. Me? Gollum. Gollum. Such a great character. Who do you think?
He was good. I like...
Or Smaug. I guess it's a tie. It's either Gollum or Smaug.
We're talking about the book?
The Hobbit book, yeah.
The book.
Yeah, the book,
okay,
yeah.
So
who's your favorite character?
I'd say Frodo.
Frodo's not in The Hobbit.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bilbo. Excuse
yeah,
me.
you'd say Bilbo? Yeah.
And
just so you guys know, Frodo is
you,
not in the Hobbit book, but he's in the Hobbit movies.
Excuse me. Forgive me.
We're talking about books.
I meant Bilbo.
Yes.
And Bilbo Baggins is quite just a fantastic person for the community at large that he inhabits, and the people love him. They know all about him, and he doesn't seem to know much about himself. And
yeah, that's a great assessment of Bilbo. Yes. He doesn't seem to know much about himself. It's like Gandalf instinctually knows more about Bilbo than Bilbo knows about himself, you know? He knows that Bilbo has the aptitude. Right. Great aptitude.
Absolutely. Great
skill. And very clever. But Bilbo doesn't seem to know these things about himself. That's what makes The Hobbit such a fun story. It is actually a story of self-discovery for Bilbo in a really fun way. It really is. I don't know if the movies successfully capture that sense of Bilbo's flowering and his self-discovery.
Right.
The book captures it in a unique way that only Tolkien could do.
Right.
But in the movies, it looks like Peter Jackson was a bit busy with other things. He's world building.
Of course.
He's trying to build a Hobbit structure that will naturally mesh into his existing
Huge
Lord of the
undertaking.
Rings.
Huge.
Yeah, I know.
Huge.
So he's totally like,
to even battle against Tolkien's identities of the worlds that he's created. You know,
Yeah.
like these descriptions are just so
yeah. No,
vast.
don't worry.
It's
A lot
for
of
Peter
fans.
to go up and make that attempt, I think
Yeah.
was quite a interesting challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges you'll ever come up against. I kid you not. I don't think there's any other Star Wars. I don't know what you could.
Star Wars was an original. It's hard
Right,
to
there's
adapt a property
there's no
that is beloved. Yeah. The biggest thing I respect and admire about Peter Jackson and his writing team, Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh, and in many cases, The Hobbit was co-written by Guillermo del Toro, the director who had to leave the project. Yeah, del Toro would have been our director of the Hobbit films, but he had to leave the project at the last possible minute. Why? Yeah, exactly why. Because MGM was blowing up and they couldn't get the green light to make the film. That's why. I admire that Peter Jackson and his team would even have the chutzpah to attempt to adapt Tolkien, because some books are so beloved you don't want to adapt them.
Right.
And you're automatically under the scrutiny of everyone who loves that book. Everyone. Yeah. Now, you had the pleasure of experiencing Lord of the Rings as a film experience without having read the book. So, when you watch those movies, Peter Jackson did not have the onus to fulfill your expectations of the books because you hadn't read the books at the time. That's also an interesting place. For the audience to be either a non-book fan or a hardcore book fan will definitely impact your perception of the films. There was no onus on Peter Jackson to deliver your Lord of the Rings the way you loved Lord of the Rings your whole life. You were just experiencing Lord of the Rings for the first time as a movie.
Yes, and how could Peter know that?
Exactly. Exactly. So when a filmmaker like Peter Jackson gets down to it, he's trying to make a film for both audiences at the exact same time.
Yeah.
The book fans and the non-fans who don't know shit from Shinola and have never ever read Tolkien. So it worked. It worked for you because you loved Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You did, and it was fantastic.
It's a difficult undertaking to
Very
make
difficult.
somebody like it.
But you read The Hobbit, and you did not like his adaptation of The Hobbit.
Mm.
See?
No.
Exactly. Now, if you had read Lord of the Rings, you might not have liked his adaptation of Lord of the Rings if you had been a reader at that time.
I
Just saying, anything's possible. Okay. The yeah, you got Esme. I'm glad you got to meet Philippa last year at the premiere. She's really, really nice, and she's so friendly, so nice to talk to. There's worry that the extended edition of the Battle of the Five Armies is not going to be long enough, because Battle of the Five Armies was the shortest in running time, the shortest existing Middle-earth film that Peter Jackson has yet made, by far. But I'd be happy if it's 60 minutes longer. I'd be thrilled, because the more movie, the better. I like it. I like longer movies. I like taking my time with the long, relaxing movie experience. I enjoy it. I do. I love it.
Why is that? When do you have a
Because more of a good thing.
more of a good
More of a good thing. If it wasn't done well, I wouldn't be that interested.
good thing?
You can't. Too much is never enough. That's the bottom line. Okay, guys?
All I know is because we're getting The Hobbit back in theaters, we're not done with the hashtag one last time, so Wolverine can't use it yet.
Yeah, we're not done with hashtag one last time. We're so not done with it. This is gonna cause confusion because one last time I don't think is appropriate at all, Justin. Do you know why? Yeah? Hello, Justin? Do you know why? Okay, Justin's not responding because he's busy reading something. But the reason why hashtag one last time isn't going to work is because I know in my heart of hearts that Warner Brothers is going to make more films in Middle-earth. Somewhere, somehow. They're going to do it. Yep, and they're going to be stories adapted from the appendix at the back of The Lord of the Rings or other content that they have the license for.
Absolutely.
They don't have the license for the Silmarillion or any other Tolkien books. But I'm telling you, more Middle-earth cinematic universe is going to come down the pipe. So if anybody tells me one last time, I'm not even going to believe it. I still don't
You know
believe
what would be cool though? If at a screening in London or New Zealand or Australia or even here in Los Angeles, if if for that 7:30 p.m. show of Battle of Five Armies that maybe Richard Armitage and Hugh Jackman show up and he formally hands over the hashtag. Like King Thorin giving it to Wolverine, saying,
Giving
what?
Wolverine the hashtag?
You take it from here, bro. Like, I think I would die having Richard Armitage and
be
Hugh
great.
Jackman in the same room together.
That would be
He's
so awesome. That would be so
Armitage
awesome.
is awesome in the Red Dragon as the Red Dragon right now in Hannibal, and that like formally present the hashtag. This one's yours. Take it from here.
It's your hashtag, Wolverine. So, did Hugh Jackman say he's only going to do Wolverine one more film, one more time, and that's it? So it'll be one last time for Wolverine. We're also fans of other properties.
Yes.
Like everything science fiction fantasy we're fans of. Yeah. So tell me, let us not forget that, and there's a big announcement for Ringer's Lord of the Fans coming out very soon, but not yet. Yes, the executive producer of the first X-Men films and the executive producer of the Transformers films.
The guy that hired.
The guy named Tom DeSanto, who's a good friend of mine, he made my movie. My fun little documentary about Lord of the Rings fans was made by Tom DeSanto, and he got us our investors, he got us our stuff all lined up, and it's really exciting. We've got news that we can't talk about yet, but we're going to make announcements really soon about Ringer's Lord of the Fans. But yes, I have a clear street cred. I've got perfect street cred with my movie being produced by X-Men producer Tom DeSanto. It is true. And also, but I don't talk about Transformers much because I didn't like any of those. They were so much for Transformers films. But name some of the other fantasy franchises that you really like, or science fiction. What are you into? Star Trek, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, X-Men,
Spider-Man,
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Marvel.
Okay. Do you want Spider-Man to actually? And are you happy with the announcement that Spider-Man is actually going to appear now in the Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe with the other Thor and Avengers characters?
Yes, I am. I think Disney has a good handle on Marvel.
Marvel's been handling themselves very, very well.
Really well.
Disney just has the distribution deal. Yeah. They're doing it.
Disney's huge.
Okay. Do you think DC Cinematic Universe is going to come out with the Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice? Do you think that they can pick up steam and catch up with Marvel? Now, you know we're going to get 3 major characters introduced.
Well, yeah.
Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman together in this film.
Of course. I mean, DC is so hot right now, and
yeah, but they don't.
But they're getting hotter. I mean, that's the point. The only room they have to grow is upwards growth.
They
have to go up. And I remember DC Comics was a favorite, but it wasn't the top favorite. It wasn't top left. It was just on the top.
No Ringers 2. Sorry, guys. It's not going to be a Ringers 2. There's not going to be a sequel to my documentary. There will be a big announcement, hopefully, as soon as we get the announcement ready, but it doesn't involve another documentary. We kind of covered the subject completely when we made that film. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. I really do. Thank you very much for that. Now, not a chance, Cliff. Marvel says that DC are leagues far and away from Marvel. Well, Marvel has had the success of quite a few years already of getting their films out.
Yeah.
Very popular to everybody. DC has not had that much success with Man of Steel. Did you like Man of Steel that Zack Snyder did?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Henry Cavill and our very own Gladiator himself.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? It was pretty good? Amy Adams, pretty good?
I liked it. Didn't have any complaints.
Yeah?
I'm not that much of a movie buff, so I don't really. I just go to absorb that information.
Yeah, well, we're fans. We absorb every detail. I mean, Russell Crowe was not eliminated from the film entirely. I mean, his character dies when Krypton is blown up, but at least Russell Crowe gets to come back as a hologram, and he's there talking to his son and giving him advice at all these critical moments. You know, it was cool. because I like seeing Russell Crowe in any movie he's in because he's just awesome, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, Tina Bomar, number 77. The Gotham TV show is very well done. We'll agree with you on that. Have you seen Gotham on television?
No.
It's great.
I-
Very, very young detective, investigative detective James Gordon, and a very, very young little, you know, Bruce Wayne, who's just recently suffered the loss of his parents. And these characters who will eventually become the Penguin and the Riddler and Catwoman. All these characters are in Gotham, and all these great little... Fish Mooney, what a great side character for Jada Pinkett Smith. Really cool. It's a cool show. It's really good. I'm enjoying it.
I'm gonna have to see it.
You will enjoy it. You will like Gotham. It's good stuff.
Thank you.
If you like Batman as much as I do. Okay? Yeah, Marvel's just saying that she meant Marvel films are more relaxed and funny. Yeah, there was nothing relaxed and funny about Man of Steel. I don't think there will be anything relaxed and funny about Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. I don't know if they're even going to get... Until Suicide Squad comes out, we're not going to get any of that trademark franchise humor out of DC. I don't think it's going to happen until Suicide Squad comes out, because it's built in with the... Obviously, Harley Quinn is a character who's going to give us lots of crazy comedy. She's Harley Quinn. And the Joker, and these other characters. It's going to be fantastic, I think. I think Suicide Squad will be fantastic. Have you seen any previews of Jared Leto's Joker?
Yes.
Yeah?
That looks so good.
It looks so crazy, doesn't it?
So good.
Do you approve of the grills? He's got grills! Do you think Joker with grills? Or is that too hip-hop and too modern for the Joker to have grills?
No, that is definitely there.
I think it's a
Definitely
cool
within the
change.
realm
Yeah, alright.
of Joker. Absolutely.
I dig it.
I do too.
I dig it. Okay, and then... Yeah. I don't think that's, like, real. That's not official.
Wow.
That's not official. But we do have a director. Who's going to be the director? James Wan, the director of Furious 7, has been chosen by Aquaman. Okay. Has been chosen to direct Aquaman starring Jason Momoa. Yeah, so he's going to be Aquaman. What do you think? Yeah?
Definitely.
Badass. I think Jason
Definitely.
Momoa is so badass. He's cool. It's going to be really cool.
Is he gonna keep the long hair?
Yeah, evidently. I think he is going to keep the long, long, long hair. There's a lot of fan art and a lot of conversation about, you know, what he might look like, but we just have speculation at this point. Have you seen Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman? You've seen her in the trailer? You have not seen her in the trailer?
Updates.
Okay, here we go. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. Here she is. This is the new image of her. She's going to be in the new Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, directed by Henry Cavill, and he did a really good job on The Watchmen, and I think he did a pretty good job on Man of Steel. The jury is still out. We've got Holly Hunter as a new star for Batman vs. Superman, and then we'll also have Lawrence Fishburne reprising his role, and Amy Adams, of course, and Gal Gadot will be our Wonder. That's the full costume of Wonder Woman. Huh?
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty cool?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes.
This your first time seeing her?
That is. Yeah. That is.
Reaction video, your
That's-
first time seeing her design as Wonder Woman.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. What do you think? Maybe? There's her golden lasso.
Oh.
And she's in the trailer, too, for like a few seconds. Anyways. Oh no! The video went out. Video's off the air. Uh-oh. Justin, everyone's in the chat room is saying all the videos going off now.
No, you're there. So,
Are we back?
Ron didn't say goodnight.
It is about time to wrap up. You know, that was 90 minutes. We just did a whole 90-minute show. Do you believe that? We just did a whole 90-minute show, which is great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to pay close attention. Really. Pay close attention to theonering.net on our main site. Also on our Facebook timeline. Also on our Twitter feed. Just pay attention, because we're going to have lots of announcements coming up when we get more details about the Hobbit Extended Edition theatrical showings, which are going to be an opportunity for us as Tolkien fans to do rigorous, robust events. We're going to do really robust fan events. We'll get fans together. We have a chance to pull out our Thranduil costumes again and do some great costumes and have a great time. I should get some kind of a costume together for myself too. I have in between now and October 5th. That's when They're going to do the first night of An Unexpected Journey Extended, then the next night, Desolation of Smaug Extended, and then the big kahuna. Everyone's been waiting to see the theatrical release of Battle of the Five Armies Extended Edition, all coming up in the first week of October, thanks to a combination of Warner Brothers and Fathom Events. We broke the story. We are the OneRing.net. That's what we do. We broke the story today first, and I'm really glad to see that you guys are paying attention to the details. It is always lovely to have a singer, a songwriter, and Tolkien enthusiast here with me. Hart, it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. My friend.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank
Are you ready to pull out that guitar and write a song for us about Bilbo and his adventures? So
Sure.
the next time you're here, we can
Sure.
actually hear you sing and do a song for us. Would you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And tell
I'd love to.
where can our fans find you or find any of your music online?
I have a website, hartheiden.com. That's HART.
Remember,
HEIDEN.
H-A-R-T. His name is spelled H-A-R-T, just like the beautiful white stag that Thorin and Bilbo see in Mirkwood Forest. It's spelled without the E. It's H-A-R-T. The heart, meaning the white stag, okay? Hart, Heiden, H-E-I-D-E-N.
That's correct.
.com?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys can go and find more music from our good buddy, H-A-R-T, his last name H-E-I-D-E-N, Hart
So
Heiden.
/music, or
yeah?
you could just go to the
So
website.
you can go to the
navigate
website,
Music tab.
get the music tab, or you can hit hartheiden.com/music. This is exciting. Why do they do that? I don't know why we do that. Well, we've lost everyone on the chat. They're all gone, and it looks like Colloquy is disconnected from the server. It has been a lovely show. Come and watch our YouTube archives. If you can't catch us live at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, you're always welcome to check out our YouTube archives, where we pretty much have every episode of Torn Tuesday archived. Usually it'll be there later on, unless we have some licensed music that we illegally used and we can't archive it. But anyways, thank you, Hart Heiden, fellow Ringer fan. This is Clifford Broadway, also known as Quick Beam. You can follow me on Twitter at QuickBeam2000. That'd be lovely to see you guys online. Justin is in the background. He gives a lot of love and a final shout out. Thank you to Ellen Design, Sarah, Marfles, Esme, Idril. It is so good to see my good buddy, Northrunner, Pete. Pete has joined us for the show. Always good to have you here with us, Pete. And thanks to all of our friends and cohorts as we continue forward in Ringer fandom. We'll see you next week, live at 5 o'clock, right here on the OneRing.net. Huh? Good night, everybody. Oh, Grand. Oh, yeah, one more Grand. Are you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Grand. With a D. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Grand. Excellent. Boom. Grand lives. Hey, that's our next hashtag, is Grand lives. It's better than Frodo lives. Anyways, good night, everybody. Bye. Of its own, because it does. The ring itself is the will of Sauron. It has its own will. That's what it is. The ring itself. You know. We watched a movie last night that had a little magic ring motif in it, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
there's
we did.
a little magic ring motifs show up in movies all the time. So, when you saw the Lord of the Rings, did you say to yourself, oh man, I'm going to have to go back and read those Lord of the Rings books that I haven't ever read? Picking up after The Hobbit.
No.
No, really? You weren't strongly motivated to go?
Honestly, I wasn't strongly motivated.
It's good stuff.
I was just hitting the phase of college, so
You had a lot of other reading to do.
there was a lot of other reading.
Yeah? How old were you when you read The Hobbit for the first time?
I'm gonna say 12.
Bingo, me too. Yeah. People are in between the 10-year-old and the 12-year-old range, usually when they hit The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings for the first time. That's it. For the things that he did, maybe he'll ask for our forbearance, saying, sorry, I never gave you a funeral scene for a very important person who never had a funeral. You read the book, The Hobbit.
Yes.
You love this book. As much as we are Tolkien fans, it comes back to our love of the books, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does.
There's nothing like it.
So,
Absolutely nothing.
how old are you? How old were you at the time when those Lord of the Rings movies came out and you got to see those big, badass Lord of the Rings films?
I believe I was 16 or 17. Good.
Really?
Good age.
Yeah, yeah. You were right at teenage prime time,
Right
dude.
there,
Right?
teenage prime time.
And what did you think? I mean, it was just operatic, just so
Lord
huge.
of the Rings was huge. It was terrific.
Yeah?
I just I mean, the cast, the script, the set, everything. Just the computer imaging. Ooh, it was just so well put together.
Brilliant.
And the score. Oh man, there's so much to talk about those movies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do. We talk about how much we love those movies. Now, you had not read The Lord of the Rings, but you had read The Hobbit. So you were ready to go into this world with The Lord of the Rings because you knew what happened with Bilbo's adventure and how he had the riddle game in the dark with Gollum.
Yes.
And how he found the ring that had abandoned Gollum. Really interesting the way Cate Blanchett as Galadriel opens her narration at the opening of the Fellowship of the Ring, and she says, "It abandoned Gollum." And, speaking as if the ring has an active will of its own, because it does. The ring itself is the will of Sauron. It has its own will. That's what it is. The ring itself. We watched a movie last night that had a little magic ring motif in it, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah,
we did.
those little magic ring motifs show up in movies all the time. So when you saw the Lord of the Rings, did you say to yourself, "Oh man, I'm going to have to go back and read those Lord of the Rings books that I haven't ever read"? Picking up after The Hobbit.
No.
No, really? You weren't strongly motivated to go?
Honestly, I wasn't strongly motivated.
It's good stuff.
I was just hitting the phase of college, so
You had a lot of other reading to do.
There's a lot of other reading.
Yeah? How old were you when you read The Hobbit for the first time?
I'm gonna say 12.
Bingo, me too. Yeah. People are in between the 10-year-old and the 12-year-old range, usually when they hit The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings for the first time. That's it. For the things that he did, maybe he'll ask for our forbearance, saying, "Sorry, I never gave you a funeral scene for a very important person who never had a funeral." You read the book, The Hobbit.
Yes.
You love this book. As much as we are Tolkien fans, it comes back to our love of the books, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does.
There's nothing like it.
So,
absolutely nothing.
How old were you at the time when those Lord of the Rings movies came out and you got to see those big, badass Lord of the Rings films?
I believe I was 16 or 17.
Really?
Good age.
Yeah. You were right at teenage prime time, dude.
There,
right?
Prime time.
And what did you think? I mean, it was just operatic, just so
Lord
huge.
of the Rings was huge. It was terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, the cast, the script, the set, everything. Just the computer